From just one withered flower stem, I created an entire new orchid plant. In today's video, I'll share an incredibly simple propagation method. Using only a withered flower stem with just ingredients found in your kitchen. You can easily do this at home and turn a seemingly discarded stem into a healthy new orchid plant. In my hands is an orchid with beautiful flowers, but the blossoms have begun to fade. Instead of discarding it, we can utilize this stage to create a new generation. First, I prepare a pair of scissors that have been thoroughly cleaned and sterilized. Then, I identify the correct position on the flower stalk and make a clean cut, extracting the flower cluster using the correct technique. Using a sharp, thoroughly sterilized razor blade, I made a clean cut to avoid damaging the tissue. A clean cut increases the chances of recovery in new shoots. Next, I removed the withered petals and flower buds, keeping the stem with the dormant buds. If you look closely, you'll see a clearly visible dormant bud on the stem. This is the point that can be activated to encourage new shoot growth. I made a clean cut above the stem, keeping the healthy bud. Thus, we have selected the part with healthy buds to help propagate a new orchid plant. Next, we'll immediately provide nutrients to this branch. If there were weak, small, or shriveled buds, I removed them to concentrate nutrients on the healthier buds. Next, I used sprouted potatoes, a very familiar ingredient that many people often discard because of the sprouts. Sprouted potatoes contain a high amount of nutrients, including many vitamins such as A, B, C, and E, along with minerals that support tissue regeneration. I used a knife to make a small hole in the sprouted potato. I pricked just deep enough, without crushing the inner tissue. Then, I inserted the stem with the dormant bud into the hole and secured it firmly. The purpose was to allow the stem tissue to come into direct contact with the potato flesh, which contains many nutrients. This contact allows nutrients to gradually permeate the dormant bud, supporting the bud's activation. After securing the sprout, I left it in this position for about 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I removed the cutting with the dormant buds from the potato. At this point, the tissue had come into contact with and absorbed some nutrients from the potato flesh. Then I set the cutting aside, preparing it for the next processing and planting step. Next, I separate the sprouts from the potato. I select healthy, undamaged sprouts, then use a sharp knife to cut them into thin slices to easily extract the active tissue. Then, I take about a quarter to half of the potato, depending on its size. Next, continue slicing the potatoes. On the Blissful Garden channel, you can also find many ways to make homemade organic fertilizers from familiar kitchen ingredients. These are not only cost-effective but also help plants grow sustainably. Next, I prepared a clean, dry container that had been thoroughly washed beforehand. Then, I put all the processed potatoes into the container. Next, I added about 500 milliliters of boiling water to begin the potato extraction process. As soon as I poured in the boiling water, I stirred well to gradually dissolve the starch and nutrients in the potatoes. Then, I sealed the container and covered it with a cloth to maintain a stable temperature. I let it steep for about an hour to allow the extraction process to complete. After an hour of incubation, the potato solution had turned slightly cloudy. The essence had dissolved, and a liquid solution had formed. I stirred it again to ensure uniformity, then prepared another clean container for filtration. I used a sieve or filter cloth to remove all the potato pulp and sediment. The resulting liquid is the complete extracted potato solution, ready for dilution and use in orchid care in the next stage. Next, I took the orchid out for care. I used a soft cotton ball, soaked in the prepared solution, to wipe the entire stem and leaves. The purpose was to clean off dirt, remove mold from the surface, and create conditions for better nutrient absorption. After the plant was clean, I placed the cutting or the part that needed treatment into a cup of the prepared potato solution. This solution was the water from sprouted potatoes that had been carefully filtered beforehand. I soaked it for about 25 minutes to give the plant tissue enough time to absorb the nutrients. After soaking for about 20 minutes, I checked the cuttings with dormant buds. By this time, the tissue had had time to come into contact with and absorb the necessary nutrients. Then, I used a soft, clean cotton towel to gently pat the cuttings dry. Drying the surface helps to reduce excess moisture, minimizing the risk of fungal infection when placed in the growing medium. Once the treatment was complete, I let the cuttings dry completely before planting. I prepared a jar of pure cinnamon powder, then took a sufficient amount and applied it directly to the cuttings. I focused on thoroughly treating the areas where the knife had been used, as these are the most susceptible to fungal infections. The cinnamon powder will help disinfect naturally, dry the wound surface, and create a temporary protective layer for the plant tissue. When the cuts are properly treated, the cuttings will stabilize faster and are likely to sprout 1 or 2 new shoots. Next, I prepared a piece of floral foam. This material retains moisture very well, making it suitable for the routing stage. I placed the bottom of the jar on the foam to mark the dimensions, then used a knife to cut along the marked lines. The cuts had to be neat and snug, so that when placed in the jar, the foam fit tightly to the bottom, neither too loose nor too tightly compressed. After cutting, I placed the foam inside the jar, adjusting it to lie flat and fit the bottom. At this step, I pour enough filtered water into the bottom of the container to moisten the foam underneath. I always prefer using clean filtered water to minimize bacteria and mold. The purpose of the water layer at the bottom is to create a stable, humid environment, helping the foam retain water evenly without causing water. After preparation, I placed the flower bud in the designated position in the foam. securing it so that it has good contact with the moisture but is not submerged. Next, I used a clear plastic lid with ventilation holes and covered the seedling container. Using a clear lid allows me to easily observe the contents, while the small holes ensure air circulation. The purpose of this step is to prevent mold and insect infestation, while maintaining stable humidity for the seedling environment. I check the water level in the container weekly. If the water at the bottom is low, I add filtered water to maintain the moisture of the foam, but not to submerge the cuttings. After completion, I place the seedling container in a shady, well-ventilated area with diffused light. After 28 days, I check the results again, and this is what you can clearly see. From the initial flower bud, a shoot has emerged. This shows that the propagation process was successful, and the dormant tissue has been properly activated. A closer look reveals that a new keiki has formed from the old flower stem. This is a very positive sign, proving that the humid environment and the previous treatment process were perfectly suitable. After confirming that the shoot and roots are stable, I continue to maintain a light watering schedule. I only sprayed a fine mist, not a strong spray, to avoid displacing the cuttings or causing excessive water. After spraying, I placed the plants back in their original location, a shady, well-ventilated area with diffused light. The goal at this stage is to maintain stable humidity, preventing dryness but also avoiding water. After another month, I checked again and the results were clear. The root system had developed strongly, the roots were long, and the root tips were green and healthy. The plant had grown noticeably, the stem was sturdier and the leaves were thicker and held their shape. I lifted the plant out to observe it. You can see that the roots are firmly attached, not rotting or shriveled. From an initial flower bud, we now have a complete keiki. This is the result of controlled and proper care. When the plant is strong enough, having both roots and flowers, it's the right time to separate and propagate. From one mother plant, I have created a new, healthy plant. The next step is to plant the plant in a pot with a suitable growing medium. From here, the plant will gradually adapt to its natural environment, continue to grow steadily, and prepare for the next flowering cycles. I chose a pot with many drainage holes and good ventilation around the edge. Before planting, I thoroughly treated and disinfected the entire substrate of shredded pine bark to eliminate mold. I placed larger pieces of pine bark at the bottom of the pot first to create drainage space. Then I added medium-sized pieces of pine bark around the root system, securing the plant but not compressing it too tightly. Next, I added a thin layer of moss around the root collar. This moss helps maintain moderate moisture, protecting the young roots from drying out suddenly. On the surface of the pot, I covered it with another thin layer of moss to stabilize humidity in the first few days after planting. When planted using the correct techniques from the beginning, the trees will adapt quickly and continue to grow steadily in their natural environment. Thus, we have completed a new orchid pot. The plant now has a healthy root system and a flower stalk. Every 3 days, I mist and water the plant with clean, filtered water to maintain surface moisture. I lightly spray the leaves to maintain surface moisture and water just enough at the base and growing medium, avoiding water. The 3-day schedule is suitable in well-ventilated conditions. You can adjust it according to the actual weather. After about a month, when the plant's root system has stabilized, I begin supplementing with natural fertilizer twice a month. Focus on watering the base and growing medium so the roots can absorb it directly. When the roots are healthy, the plant will grow sustainably and adapt well to the natural environment. During this period, I place the plant outdoors in a shady, well-ventilated location with diffused light. In the next video, I'll reveal a new method to revive care for orchids, helping them sprout roots and bloom incredibly fast. I hope this video helps you better care for your orchids at home. If you find it helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more simple and natural orchid care tips.